Residents continued their protest against lack of compensation for property affected by the construction of the Outer Ring Road for the 12th day, this time throwing eggs, flares and accusations at the Mayor of Tirana, Balla. 420 state police candidates seeking a promotion into the ranks of department chiefs have had their examination cancelled again today in what former Chief of Economic Crime Ismail Elezi calls an unprecedented situation. The SP parliamentary group leader Balla has demanded the opposition's presence in the Assembly for the next parliamentary session on the grounds that the agenda includes budget negotiations. Good evening. It's 6:03 on Thursday, the 15th of November 2018. Welcome to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to bring you the day's top stories from across the country translated into English. The residents of Astir protesting against the new ring road today threw flares as well as eggs and accusations at Mayor Balla. Their protest action continued in front of the municipality for more than 1 hour with the demand of full compensation for undocumented properties affected by the extension of the road. The protesters demanded a response from both the municipality and the federal government, stressing that they will defend their properties with blood. In support of the protesters, both MPs from the SMI and the DP were in attendance. After more than 60 minutes of waving banners and slinging accusations against the mayor and the head of the government, the residents dispersed, deciding on yet another protest to take place tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the site of the new ring. The examinations for state police officers wishing to be promoted into the ranks of department chiefs have been postponed again. The exam was scheduled to be held on November 15th with about 420 participants, but was postponed again due to the reshaping of questions and the test procedure. Former Chief of Economic Crime in the Tirana Police Force, Ismail Elezi, described what is happening within the ranks of testing as an unprecedented case. He accused the head of police, Balla, of having offended his career officers. The former police officer stressed that to take the ranks in the state police, you must be friends with a current senior executive. Elezi thinks that the other stages of testing should have been suspended and an investigation initiated by the Service for Internal Affairs and Complaints to find the person who manipulated the test. Former Prime Minister Salih Berisha, who has published a message from the digital competitor, wrote, "How could the exam paper have been leaked when it was formulated between 4 and 8 o'clock of the exam day and the exam began at 9 o'clock? Berisha states that the General Director of the police cancelled the test as the friends of police leaders and militants would not have been able to pass it. According to Berisha, if there had been a copy after the test was cancelled, the examination committee should be punished, but no measure was taken against them. Striking the strong ones is a presumptive operation because since the genesis, according to Elezi, it is only for show. They do not want to fight crime. The strong ones are so because they are related to politics," declared the former police chief. Elezi demands that the policy should not interfere with the work of the state police as, according to him, the Ministry of Interior is there to make policies, not to deal with political operations. More than 420 police officers were alerted to continue revising today for their testing into the rank of department chief after the cancellation of the first test on the grounds that there were irregularities with the exam paper. Sources from the state police suggest that the competition for the rank of department chief has been postponed today for an indefinite term by the order of the state police chief Balla. The first exam was held on November 7, but following the sitting, several complaints were filed regarding irregularities and copying. It is understood that the Internal Affairs and Complaints Service have launched an intensive investigation into the commission that was responsible for the first exam. Aura News has learned that the postponement made today was enacted in order to reformat the questions and review procedures. Once the process resumes, it is understood that it will be conducted in 2 stages, both taking place within the same day. The first examination will consist of 40 multiple choice questions, whilst the second will be comprised of 60 questions requiring written explanations. Since the beginning of the new parliamentary session, the majority has approved laws and agreements in the Assembly without the presence of the opposition, and this trend continued today. Given that the state budget is on the agenda to be discussed at the next parliamentary sitting, the head of the Socialist Party parliamentary group, Balla, demanded the presence of all opposition in the Assembly. Foreign Minister Didmir Bushati also demanded the cooperation of the opposition to vote on the law on the School of Magistrates in order to pave the way for new prosecutors and judges. However, Didmir Bushati added that the Stabilisation and Association Council confirmed the success so far with reforms undertaken, particularly justice reform, under the framework of the obligations for opening negotiations next June. According to the Democratic Party, the budget envisaged for education represents the lowest level of investment in Europe. DP MP Luciani Bocci stated that there is no government effort to see the 134,000 youths who have dropped out of school return to the education they abandoned. The promise of growth to 5% of this budget in relation to gross domestic product has been thrown into the trash, just as many other promises by Edi Rama have been. This miserable level of funding provides neither quality education nor even just education for Albanian children and youth, forcing them to pay a lot of extra money from their pockets with a significant impact on family budgets. The 2019 budget does not help to solve the many problems associated with the position of teachers, their salaries and the support they require. Nor does it solve the problems of students, schools, laboratories, libraries, collective classes or transport, concluded Luciano Bocci. Municipal members of the United Opposition boycotted the meeting of the City Council today to join the protest of citizens from the austere area, whose dwellings will be demolished to make way for the new Outer Ring Road. The Socialist Movement for Integration group declared that they believe in the vision that the Council's responsibility is to the citizens and not to the halls. Councillors have been voted and mandated to resolve any problems and concerns of our community. The Socialist Movement for Integration group supports projects for Tirana's development but requires decisively compensating citizens for any and every sacrifice, especially economic expenses. This is a basic respect of the rights of citizens and property and is guaranteed by the Constitution, local laws and European conventions. In addition, transparency over the details of the Outer Ring Road project be made available to all citizens, reads the statement issued by the SMI Group. The SMI Group of the Tirana municipality states that the hard work and sweat of every honest Albanian who has built a home for their families deserves to be compensated fairly. They went on to add that all citizens who have built their homes in the past 28 years should be treated equally before the law. The Socialist Movement for Integration group have their assurance that they will remain close to the citizens by supporting the rightful demands of the austere residents and will seek to shield citizens from corrupt interests of the oligarchs. During World War I, Serbia lost about 1/3 of its population to the battles, with more than 50% of the casualties being male. The Serbian embassy in Tirana, under the framework of the 100th anniversary of the end of the war, screened a documentary showing the difficulties both soldiers and the Serbian population faced in fighting for their survival. This documentary is commemorating all the soldiers and the Serb population who lost their lives during World War I, and the numbers were not few. Among those who died in this war were my grandfather and that of my wife, said the Serbian ambassador in Tirana. Diplomats, historians and journalists present at the screening of this documentary were all familiar with the crowd of people that the Serbian army saved. Through Kosovo, Montenegro and Albania, they came to the coast of Corfu with the help of the Italian ships taken from the city of Vlora. Kosovar Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj has repeated his position that dialogue with Serbia should bear no mention of discussion of territorial exchange and focus only on the recognition of independence by Belgrade. He said on Thursday to students of the Faculty of Philosophy that the country has gone to war to defend its borders and will not make concessions. Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj said on Thursday that dialogue with Serbia should continue, but Kosovo's borders should not be part of the discussion. Speaking at the meeting with students from the Faculty of Philosophy in Pristina, the head of the government said that the acceptance of the current territory and recognition by Serbia should be non-negotiable conditions by all parties. His statements came after those made by President Hashim Thaci a day earlier, according to which there will be no agreement without border correction, as Serbia and Russia will simply continue to refuse to recognise Kosovo as a sovereign state. He said European leaders have a historic opportunity to help finalise the deal, but reorganising the territory on ethnic grounds would spark conflicts between the two states and undermine peace in the region. The idea of territorial exchange has alarmed the international community, while work is being done to normalise the relations between the two states, possibly before the parliamentary elections in Europe next year. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join me again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.